What is up, guys? It is the Coach's Corner here on the Blue Bloods. Myself, my guy, Coach Fred. Coach, big win, Friday night game. Had a little bit of a weekend off, man. How does it feel to get back in the W column and also get to spend Saturday and Sunday, man, knowing that you still got that shot at that SWAC division championship?
Man, that win was amazing. Complete team effort from top to bottom. It was one of those deals where, every kid, man, just kind of, they brought into it as they've done all year. Adversity struck, nobody buckled, everybody got closer in a moment and, stood up, to a really good team on the road on a Friday night. Weather rolling in, windy, the whole nine, the kids blocked all that out. Went out there and gave a tremendous effort, man, and we were lucky to get away, get out of there with a win. And once you get home at 6:58 a.m. That Saturday, get you a little nap in and got a chance to catch some football that probably hadn't caught those type of games in a long time. As far as, other than the bye week, as coaches, you don't really get to see a lot of other people play, and it was nice to see. Nice to see.
Absolutely, man. Hell of a game too, guys. If you didn't catch, Alcorn State getting a big win over PV in overtime. Big game. Jarvion Howard had another ridiculous game,
Yeah.
just on a different level. But we'll save that for another show, another all SWAC list coming up this postseason. I'm getting that together for the Blue
Hey,
Bloods,
now.
and he's on there. I'm just gonna put it out there. Everyone knows who RB1 is right now, but. Coach, a big FBS game this weekend. Number 4 TCU finally breaking that college football playoff top 4, takes this team on the road, their undefeated season, to face number 18 Texas. 6:30 p.m. Central on ABC, a night game. Quinn Ewers, Bijan Robinson picking up some steam after they've been getting healthy these past few weeks.
Yes.
Does the Horned Frogs dream season end this weekend in Austin, Texas?
Man, it's something we talked about since we started it. When the rankings really came out after the first couple of weeks when we jumped into the show, which team can handle the lights? This is uncharted for TCU. Number 4 in the country. Everybody's saying you're in the playoffs right now, win and you're in, and you're going on the road, and it's a night game, and you're going to be in a hostile environment. And Texas, burnt orange is going to be out in droves. How do they handle it? That's going to be the case. How do they handle the week leading up to it and getting in that moment as the number 4 ranked team on the road?
It'll be huge because when you look at their schedule, this will be their 4th top 20 win in the past 6 games if TCU can pull this one off. They've beaten Kansas on the road. They beat number 8 Oklahoma State in double overtime at home and beat Kansas State, number 17 in the country at the time. They've picked up 2 big wins over Texas Tech and West Virginia, which a lot of people were deeming as trap games. But then you look at Texas. This is their 3rd straight top 15 matchup on their schedule. At Oklahoma State, at Kansas State. They split those, lose to Oklahoma State by 7, beat Kansas State last week by 7. Now they host TCU. The question I have is, can Texas continue some consistency? They perform well. They went 1-1 against top 15 teams. I don't think you should scoff at that. I mean, that's pretty good when you look at the road tests that they face in Stillwater and Manhattan. But it's just, can they can they keep up the pace? Can they keep up the offensive consistency? The defense is playing pretty well. And is there any fatigue that's going to set in this weekend? Because, Coach, when you play 3 great opponents back to back to back, sometimes it wears on you. And even though you might be a little bit more evenly matched than you would expect, you don't come out and perform at I would say, your peak level.
And that's not even talking on the physical side. You're talking on the mental side. And, as the guys in the college shirts, as we're preaching all week about, we can't have the mental mistakes. We can't have the turnovers. We got to be mentally locked in. And now, you're talking about 18 to 22, 23-year-olds. And like you said, week 1, week 2, week 3, are we mature enough? Texas, who's a very young ball club, Are they going to be mature enough in those moments when they need to be? And it's crazy because I'm looking and they're actually favored,
Yeah,
versus the number
7 points.
14. Yeah, So who's going to handle it? Who's going to handle the light? And can Texas do it in a moment, or can TCU hold up? And TCU had to come back a couple times. How many times can you continue to do that as well, and survive?
For TCU, it comes down for me, Max Duggan at quarterback. 24 passing touchdowns, only 2 picks. The efficiency is through the roof right now.
Crazy.
2,400 yards through the air, but also let's not I think the rushing game sometimes gets overlooked just due to how great Duggan is playing. Miller at the running back spot, already over 1,000 yards, 12 rushing touchdowns,
Yep.
has really matched the production of Bijan Robinson, who gets gets put on this pedestal of one of the best running backs in the country, which talent wise he is, but Miller's quietly putting together a very impressive season. And the worry for me is if Texas can't make TCU one dimensional, man, it's going to be really hard to stop TCU's offense when they can run the football when they want. And it opens up opportunities for Duggan to put the ball in the air and stretch the defense vertically. That's my question mark, is really going to be the Texas defense, because I think if Texas can keep this under 40, Texas has a really good shot to win this. But if TCU, with this explosive offense that has been damn near unstoppable this year, if they make this a shootout, I trust TCU's offense to win that type of game more so than I do Texas's offense.
Can they stop Johnson in the receiving game, like you said, and can they take Miller out of the run game? It's got to be either or, because I don't think they are explosive enough on their offense to go point for point. I also feel like TCU's got to get off to a fast start. If they can get off to a fast start on the road in that environment, I think it now turns the pressure up on Texas, and it gives them the opportunity now, because they're not bad defensively. But it makes Texas now one-dimensional, and I think their pass defense is way better than their rush defense, if that makes sense. I think they rush the passer better than they actually stop the run. Just kind of watching them these last couple weeks, scanning through some of TCU stuff. If they can make Texas have to pass the ball and they get out to a fast start, I think they pull the upset this week with this game here.
Yeah, I always throw the pick to you, so I'll kick us off on this show. I just meant TCU to me is too balanced on offense, and I think the defense throughout the year, even though it's been a more bend but don't break type defense, has made opportune plays in opportunistic moments. And so for me, I think TCU has been here. Multiple rank wins on the year. This team's seen the lights. Texas in the biggest games has been hit or miss for me, and they seem to make that one key mistake in a lot of these big games that cost them. Give me TCU with the quote unquote upset this weekend over Texas. I like TCU by 7 this weekend on the road in Austin.
I was just trying to look up, and like you said, you were right on point, because TCU faced this when Kansas was really hot. That kind of thing. Texas faced this when Bama came to town. And like you said, take the officiating part out of it, but they made the timely mistake that helped Bama get out of there with the win. Can they navigate from that? And I just don't know. I think I'm going to go with you. And I'm going to say TCU by 10. TCU by 10.
I like it. Me and Coach both taking the Horned Frogs, getting to 10-0, 5th ranked win of the year. Going even back to that Oklahoma game, they were 18th at that time when TCU put a 55-point beat down on them. So TCU setting themselves up for the playoffs potentially with that Big 12 championship looming. But an SEC matchup that after last week has a lot of people looking at this game as much more important and a lot more in question than it once was. Alabama suffering their 2nd loss last week to LSU in overtime. Ole Miss comes in 8-1 this year. Sole loss also to LSU. Alabama's a 12-point favorite for a game that kicks off at 2:30. Bama's traveling to Oxford in the Grove. Coach, can Ole Miss pull off an upset, and will Bama have its 3rd loss of the year in early November?
Not to take the the other channel thing, but not so fast, my friend. I just don't see this one happening. It's going to be tough. It's always tough to put a back-to-back loss on a Nick Saban team. Let's just put that out there. It is what it is. Bama can still, even with those losses, can still rush the quarterback. And I think that makes Ole Miss uncomfortable because I don't think their front five is as strong as what Bama has on the other side of the ball. And I think it may start close, but it's not going to end that way. I don't see Alabama dropping this one. And with this win and some other chaos, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. I ain't even going to say it. You know where I'm going with this. But
I know.
Don't be surprised.
I feel like, LSU controls their destiny. If LSU wins out there to the SEC championship, not to look too far ahead, I don't think either of us would be picking LSU over Georgia in Atlanta in an SEC championship game.
No.
That opens the door wide open for the Crimson Tide. Just find a way to slide back in there if they win out. But, Coach, my biggest concern for Ole Miss is defense. When you have the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, when you have Jahmyr Gibbs, when you have all the weapons that this Bama offense has, putting up 482 a game, man, Ole Miss is allowing almost 400 yards per game. They gave up 28 to a Texas A&M team that is not very good. They gave up 45 to LSU, 34 to a bad Auburn offense. Vandy put up 28. Kentucky had opportunities. It's just, do I trust Ole Miss to make a stop? And Bama's defense hasn't been great this year, but Bama's defense has been a lot more consistent than what Ole Miss is putting on the field. And also, I think people, when they see the 2 losses on Bama, I got asked this last week, Coach, and it was, is this the least talented Alabama team that Nick Saban's had? And I was just like, I don't think so. Because, I mean, the talent's there. Like, on paper, when you run down the list of names with Will Anderson Jr., who was the best defensive player in college football last year. You have a Heisman-winning quarterback. You have one of the best running backs in the country. You have offensive line talent. You have Dallas Turner on the other side of the defensive line. I don't think it's a talent issue, but this is probably, I will say this, one of the least disciplined teams Alabama and Nick Saban has ever had. I mean, Coach, if I'm not mistaken, I have to pull some stats up, but I think they're averaging double-digit penalties per game this year. And they're putting, I mean, every game, it just seems like every time Bama gets some momentum, there's a penalty that shoots them in the foot. And as a coach, I know, especially a Nick Saban coach team, that has to be the most frustrating thing for him, is that he hasn't been able to get his team, I would say, focused and disciplined in these big games. Because when you look at their losses, it was by 1 point in overtime to LSU in Death Valley, and the other one was a 3-point loss where Bama had all the opportunities to beat that Tennessee team. So penalties, you could say, cost them 2 games this year.
That, and then you can look back to, and I had this, and as you're going through this, as fans, I think we tend to get spoiled as fans. Huge Laker fan, Shaq, Kobe, Derek Fisher. I mean, when we were winning championships and rolling, it was endless. You go back, and I say this and rounding into the Alabama conversation, you go back and look at that quarterback room once upon a time where they have a picture going around with it's Tua, Hurts, all those guys. And then you think about that receiver room they had. I think 4 of those guys went first round or whatever. They still have talent, but they just don't have 37 guys that are first-round guys, and I think that's what they've become accustomed to. And people seem to think, oh, they fell off. No, they haven't fell off. They haven't went anywhere. Last week, he throws a pick in the end zone. If they score that first possession when he drives them down there, it's a totally different game, because I think at that point on the other sideline, they're like, oh, boy, here we go, that kind of thing. And then, like you said, with the Tennessee thing, it's not like they didn't have the talent to match. They had the talent. They marched all the way back and, like you said, had numerous chances to win it at the end. I think people just become spoiled and expect those first 37 guys to be all NFL guys, and it's just not how it is, not how it happens. But they are still Alabama. I don't care what anybody says. They're still Alabama.
I agree. And I know this is going to sound weird because I think there's a misconception about Lane Kiffin's offense that it's air raid, throw the football around the yard just because he's so explosive. Lane Kiffin's offense relies on the run a lot. Like if he's not running the football, Jackson Dart in that passing game does not work the same. So I think Judkins and Evans are going to be huge this weekend. And for Judkins, who he came onto Pike Road, Alabama, I remember following his high school career a little bit. He's special. And just as a freshman, over 1,000 yards rushing, 13 rushing touchdowns, starting over a former 5-star Zach Evans, he's the key. If Bama stops the run, Ole Miss is in trouble. Jackson Dart's 7 interceptions this year, can be extremely inefficient when he can't work off the play action, can't work off the run game, and have almost that safety net underneath them. Judkins and Evans are the key, and Bama at times has been able to slow down the run. And when they do, it's up to that secondary to force some turnovers with Dart. For me, I don't know if Bama covers 12 on the road. I like Bama more by about 10, 7 to 10, somewhere in there. But I do think Alabama this weekend bounces back, gets a big win. And like you said, it's very, very rare you see an Alabama team lose back-to-back conference games under Nick Saban. I don't see that happening this week. I got Bama getting the win this weekend.
And, the only chance Ole Miss has is they have to make it a track meet. If it's not a track meet, they don't win that. I don't think they win a 28-21 type ball game. It's got to be double that. And then, like you said, if they can't run the ball, that track meet goes the other way now. And now Bama's ripping off 30-yard touchdown runs, 40-yard touchdown runs, and that score just continues to bing. I don't see Bama losing this one. And I'm kind of with you on the points. I like Bama. I want to go money line, but I'm going to give a pick. And I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go 10. I'm going to go 10 on that one.
I like it. And, our FCS game of the week, man, I'm doing 3 games this week. Chattanooga, Samford, top 11 matchup. Samford right outside the top 10, or right at the top 10 at the 10th spot. Chattanooga right behind them at number 11. Coach, this game is huge for the SoCon race where Furman, Mercer, Chattanooga all with 1 loss in conference, and Samford sitting there undefeated. Only loss was to Georgia in Athens. Do you think the Bulldogs take a major step forward in locking down the SoCon this year on the road against the Mocs this weekend?
This would be huge for them, and they're in position to do it. Like me and you were talking before you hit record. Defensively, man, they're playing as good as anybody in 1AA football, FCS. And I think, the test is going to be for them on the road. Can they bring supposedly defense travels? So that is something that they have in their back pocket. But they're going to need a little offense. They're going to need a little offense. And, you got to eliminate the turnovers. But the defense is supposed to travel. They know what's on the line. There's a lot of kids that was in that locker room the last 2 years when it wasn't so good. I think they'll be hungry. They played that way the last couple games. This is the game, I think. Right here, if they win this one, I think you can pretty much crown them. I'm with you on that being the huge game, but I like Samford and the way they've been playing defense.
I like that. And I mean, for me, it's the road test is tough because Chattanooga, I've been there. I was there this season when Mercer rolled in there, top 10 team right there in the country, and they got handled by this defense. And I agree that Samford's defense is greatly improved, but the X factor for me is the Mocs defense for Chattanooga. It is on a different level, especially at home. They're allowing under 20 points per game.
Yeah.
They're allowing under 200 yards per game through the air. They're only allowing about 100 rushing yards per game, less than 3 yards per carry. Only have allowed 6 rushing touchdowns all season. We're in week 11. So the front 7, the secondary has done an excellent job this year. It's going to come down to me, Michael Ayers, this explosive Samford offense. What's going to give? Mercer and Fred Payton came in there with the same type of offense, had 6 turnovers, and you cannot win like that. I'm sorry, I don't care who it is. And for me, it's how does Samford block up the front 7? Ty Beck, at the linebacker spot all over the field for them. Also, Devontae Maxwell, an All-American, 10.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. Jay Pearson, 16 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. And that's not even including Ben Bruton at the defensive tackle spot, who is also an all-conference player. They have some playmakers up front. Also, Cameron Brown with 5 interceptions and 15 pass breakups this year in the secondary. Absolute, like you said, balling out. So Michael Ayers coming into this game, coach, leads the country in completion percentage, almost 77% completion percentage, 2,400 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 3 picks. If he can keep that production up, get the ball to Kendall Watson, Chandler Smith, the Bulldogs have a great shot. But for me, like you say, defense travels, but defense plays really well at home. When you got the crowd, when you got the rushing game with the lean forward coming back healthy, I'm going with the upset this weekend, coach. I got the Mocs pulling off a big upset this weekend over the Bulldogs. It's going to be close. It's going to be somewhere in the 20s. Give me the Mocs this weekend. 27-23 over Samford.
I like that. But and that's a beautiful place as well, man.
Yes.
Passed by that setup once or twice. That's a beautiful setup. I don't usually go with the road team, so to speak, in this situation. But I'm going with the road team this time because of the fact that they have offense. I think they could go in a situation now, if they could control the rush, they could get themselves in a situation where they could go point for point. But they've got to be able to control the rush. And then he's got to know where that bad man is in the secondary. And we go to the other side away from him. No need to prove any kind of points. No need to prove that I can throw the ball. No need to prove any of that stuff, Mr. Ayers. Just find the guy opposite of where he is, and I think they'll be okay. I have them in one of those games as well where it's a 24-21 type thing. Samford.
I like it. Hey, we had to disagree on a game. I know last week you went with Weber. They took the L. I think we didn't do too well on picks last week. I think we both you had Georgia, so that was a good. I had picked Tennessee. I lost that one. So we went 1 for 1 on each of these because you had Weber. Sac State gets the big win. So both had Richmond, and we both lost that both lost that overtime game. Both of us rode with Nick Saban, but man, some big announcements here on the Coach's Corner. We got some big guests lined up.
Yes,
moving forward, Coach, man, I'll let you speak on that a little bit, man.
Yes, sir. We got coming, man. We got Mr. 305 himself, Coach Luke, Uncle Luke. Used to be the ambassador, still is the ambassador for Cane football. Big time guy, man. He's coming by to join us. Looking forward to that. He's with the elections being yesterday, he had some stuff that he was doing politically that kind of delayed him today, but he's coming. Kind of like his song back in the day, Uncle Luke's coming. Uncle Luke's coming. He's coming. And then should we say about the last guy we got lined up?
I think we should. We could talk about him.
Okay,
we'll get that one rolling next week, hopefully.
Yeah, we got the real Coach JB coming, man. I'd say, I don't want to say the originator because he wasn't the first, but he was the guy that took the Netflix series Last Chance Shoot over the top to national stardom. Coach Jason Brown coming through, going to sit down and talk with the Bluebloods in the Coach's Corner. So I think that's going to be really big. And we got one of the coaches from Tulane lined up. Hopefully, they pull the win off and they become one of those at-large teams that the committee has to now look at to get into the playoffs. I think that'll be a great interview also with linebacker coach Mike Moots for the Green Wave. So we got some guys lined up, man.
So, guys, stay tuned for that, man. I'll make some announcements on the page, and me and Coach Trevor will let y'all know on social media when y'all can expect those interviews, man. Huge week 11. Did a little bit of a shorter episode this week, but listen, interviews coming next week, potentially later this week. Guys, stay tuned for more content right here on the Bluebloods and the Coach's Corner. But, Coach Fred, you guys got a big game real quick. We'll talk about it just briefly. Another big conference game, 2 games left on the schedule. What's kind of the message to the team moving forward? What's the, I guess, energy around the program right now going into this week 11 matchup?
Man, had a like I said, the big win last week. Kids have a great bounce, man. Everybody knows, it's still in front of us. We have to control what we can control. Kind of like that old horse, you put those blinders on, man. You can't look around. You just got to stay focused on what it is we got to do. And at the end, like they say, let the chips fall where they may. But we got to control the chips we have now. It's a corner that we painted ourselves in, and now we just got to kind of come out that thing swinging. And we're going to do that every week. And this week, it just happens to be with BCU here at home, 2:00. So that's big. Don't have to hit the road, get to sleep at the house, and, let the chips fall where they may. And hopefully around 5:00, you'll be checking your scores and be like, they pulled it out. So that's what we're looking for right there. Also, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.
Hey, for sure. Coach is getting on his YouTube game. Now, we also want to send, our thoughts and everything to Bethune-Cookman and Daytona. They did have a hurricane hit, as we're recording this today on Thursday. So we hope everyone's safe. I know they're in Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, yes. and Coach Prom, allowed them to practice over there today. So shout out to them. We love to see the SWAC, sticking together. I know, man, Bethune has just had a brutal year, man. Back to back
football?
Yeah, no, not talking. I mean, just 2 hurricanes, and they've been displaced as a team and as a program. 8 of the 11 weeks?
Yes,
this season. I can only imagine Coach Sims and them. So me and Coach wanted to, send our thoughts and prayers, and hopefully they're traveling safe this upcoming weekend and everything. Hopefully, they can get back in their facilities and everything like that. But listen, guys, next week you could expect some special episodes from me and Coach. I will be in Lorman next weekend, Alcorn State, Jackson State, the Soul Bowl, and I think it has even a new name now. It's like they've changed the name. I like the Soul Bowl.
We still call it Soul Bowl in the building. So that's what it
is the Soul Bowl's in the building. So me and Coach might have some special episodes. I'll be in Lorman that week, and that'll be probably one of the biggest games of the Week 12 slate across the FCS and in the country. But guys, for myself, for Coach Fred, man, we will see y'all next week. But until then, guys, the Blue Bloods are out.